What up, everybody? I'm here with my friend Scottie, who's been my alliance mate for a year now? More than a year.
A year.
Bordering on that. He's our event guru. He was our event guru in Baby Yoda. I believe he did some of it in X Academy when we were there.
Yep.
And now we heavily rely on him in Super Troopers because we are a bunch of degens that literally pay attention to nothing and rely on him for everything. So please welcome Scottie. He's going to help break down these events for us right now. What up, Scottie? How you doing, man?
Well, good. How are you?
I'm doing good because you're about to tell me what I need to hoard and how I need to prepare. And that's something I've been very bad at lately. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. Start with an easy one, right? The Holiday Rumble. These Rumble events are always pretty easy. Duration, 2 days. Comes down to blitzing with your guardians depending on your star levels. What are your thoughts on Rumble? And let me pull up your spreadsheet here. We could talk about various different kinds of players, different parts of the game, what they can expect to need to do.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the people that have these guys already at 7 stars, like it's almost like you can almost do one blitz rotation and you're done. Especially if you do just like a couple, like 25 blitz credit, like refreshes of your guardians. I mean, we technically have 6 guardians as well. So if you do like your guardians without Gamora and then do Gamora with like Infinity Watch, then you're going to be probably done in like one rotation. Some people that are like mid-game players, who maybe don't all have them at like 7 stars, but have them at 5 stars, they're still going to be able to do it pretty quickly. So I kind of calculated as like the mid-game players. So like just doing their guardians, and maybe doing like the 25 blitz charges, like they could probably do like 4 rotations a day and finish the event. And then you have like the early game players that really might not even have them at 5 stars. They're going to have to blitz harder. Probably at least doing 4 rotations and doing the 25 and like 50 blitz charges every day on the Guardians. But then you have like the new players who, you know, if they don't even have them at 3 stars and they're just going to be relying purely on just like blitz wins, they're going to have to do at least, and they might have like a smaller roster, so maybe only like 20 blitz teams to do. They're probably going to have to do like 8 rotations a day, but I think it's doable for every level. It just takes a lot more work for people that unfortunately don't have these guys already like at 7 stars.
Yeah, like this is one of the kind of events that it's pretty easy as soon as you hit the mid game. As soon as you have characters that are easily farmed like Gamora in the Blitz store, these events just kind of fall over, which is really important because this is one of the rare events where all the monthly milestone stuff is stuck all the way down at that last milestone. Like you need to get every single milestone up to milestone 20 to get it. What you'll see, a theme in this video is I'm going to basically have 2 points for certain events. The point where the monthly resources stop, this month that's meteorite pieces plus Black Panther 1 million pieces, like his heart, his claws, stuff like that. And then there's going to be the final milestone, which is going to be a bunch of teal gear and then maybe some T4s and elites. And we're going to break them down into those 2 sections. So the Rumble, it's really you got to complete this milestone. And like Scottie was saying, very easy for the like end game players. And then it gets a little bit more difficult as you go down those tiers. So not that bad. Keys to success when we're talking about the Holiday Rumble, not so bad either. Like how to prepare. Well, I'll let you do this because you're going to be schooling me on how to prepare for the events that matter.
I mean, you want to make sure that you always have like you're kind of maxed on blitz charges for stuff like this, especially if you once again are a lower down, you know, player as far as not having them at 7 stars because you're going to have to blitz harder. Yeah. Like if you know a quick rumble is going to start and you know you're going to be having to struggle, like don't collect from like the villain's daily milestone until the event starts, and then that way you don't like cap on your charges. You obviously get them from like the medical supply run, so if you are capped and you know you're going to need them, don't clean them right away, but just prioritize using your blitz charges on the guardians, obviously, because that's going to help you finish it quickly.
Yeah, not much to say about the Rumble Blitzes. We're breaking it in easy because we're going to get to some more complicated events. Speaking about that, let's get into it. the Nakia campaign, the Tri event, right? So there's 3 events. 2 of the events are kind of independent, and then they feed into the what I would consider like the main event. So we have Sleeper Agents, which I think is in the web store. You're going to be blitzing with characters with the covert tag, and then Dead Drop is opening covert orbs, which is the orbs associated with Nakia's campaign, which there's a lot of questions about what Nakia's campaign is going to be like. We're going to make some assumptions here, and I'll break down those assumptions when we get to it. And both of those feed into spy games, which also incorporates core spending and milestone points earned from both of those. So we were talking earlier, we both agreed Sleeper Agents looks to be completable free-to-play, and honestly, a really big boost that'll help with the third one. So what are your thoughts on the Sleeper Agents and like what you need to be doing to complete it?
I mean, it's completable for, I think, multiple kind of levels of players, whether you're like end game, mid game, starting out. There are 15 covert characters that like you can use, and like I don't even have them all at gear tier 15. So I tried to calculate it with, just kind of assuming that everyone would have at least them at gear tier 13 at the higher end. I mean, obviously some of our whales and krakens are probably going to have them even at 16, but just like a baseline at the higher level, I kind of calculated it for everyone having them at gear tier 13, blitzing with all 15 of them, obviously. And if you do that, like really you only have to do that maybe like 5 times a day, and so that 5th time could even be using just like your 25 blitz charges on them. And then you're going to have to blitz with the rest of your roster probably at least 4 times a day if you're getting about 35 wins over the 7 days. Then you have more the mid level players where they might not have them even at 13. So that's going to get a little bit more complicated because then they're not getting that extra bonus. So it's still helpful, and so obviously you're still going to be prioritizing blitzing with those characters and maybe doing that 7 times a day, and then doing the rest of your roster 4 times a day, but that's easily still completable. It gets much harder for kind of the earlier players that might not even have them at 13 but also have more of a limited roster. Say they might have only 10 of the covert characters unlocked and only 20 blitz teams to use in their rotation. So they're going to have to do at least 8 rotations a day, which is obviously the maximum you can do over the 7 days. Yeah. But they're still going to be able to do it, which I think is still great because they can get all those rewards.
Right. So essentially, if you are a mid to late game player, gear tier 13 is fair, and you're going to actually gain a little bit of ground if you have some gear tier 15. Like a lot of these characters are war dog characters, and we're going to see in later events having them at gear tier 15 will help you in those events too. So you can kind of double up by investing into these characters. So essentially we're looking at 4 to 6 rotations a day, being generous, over the 7 days will complete this event, right?
For most people, yeah.
Right, for most people, okay. And what I'd like to say on this event, and this is kind of a theme that they've started with these events for at least these next 2 weeks, is they kind of switch up the order of operations. Like if you look at the win blitz with covert, that's 60 points, and then win blitz with covert gear tier 15, that's only 30 points. In the past, they've kind of had those numbers flipped, so it was like really beneficial if you had them at 15, and just kind of beneficial just to use them at all. And I've liked that they flipped it. That's actually a friendly mid-game player change that they've done. And that doesn't say anything about the collecting web UPCs. Maybe they're going to have some of those in... Actually, that's just offer stuff, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, that's just offer stuff. Forget about that. We're not talking about offer stuff. All right. So, Sleeper Agents. I think Sleeper Agents, if you're focusing on certain events to 100%, this is when you want 100%. That's why I'm only including the Milestone 220, which is the 100,000 points on that one. Because then the next Milestone doesn't really feel as great or as achievable to complete in the time that they've given. So the Dead Drop is basically opening the covert orbs. You get a duration of 7 days for this one. Sorry, I didn't include that. And what you can expect from this is basically 3 orbs a day if you are spending 50 cores times 4 on the campaign energy. But that is also predicated on if you're doing the heroic mode. So it's kind of like the first day, unlock Nakia, build her up, and then start farming the campaign. And then you'll get 3 orbs a day doing that 200 core total spending. Plus they've kind of, I think, given 1,000 cores in the web store. I think they did that for Valkyrie and whatever the last character was as well. So that gives you a little bit of a cushion. And the reason I think that's fair is because that's 200 cores a day. And as we're going to see a little bit later on, cores, it's not the same value for different players and different, let's say, arena rankings and stuff like that. So we don't have any kind of graph to show you for this, or table rather, because it's kind of a feel it out, right? Milestone 15 felt safe. You're still getting 18,000 of those spy game milestone points. But that is a harsh drop up from the 4,500. So if you do spend more cores on this dead drop, it will greatly affect you. In fact, I think it was spending a couple of the hundreds will bring you this up to, I think it was about 22,000 or so, which we're going to see in the next event is actually pretty meaningful. Speaking of which, let's go ahead and look at that, and that is the spy games. So we were talking about this, and we mapped out a very easy mode, which, as I was saying earlier, is to complete the monthly milestone stuff, the Black Panther 1 million stuff. So for spy games, you earn spy game milestone point. That was the 2 events previous. And then spending power cores gives you 15 points. Milestone 31 is going to give you everything you need for the monthly milestone resources, those meteorites, those Black Panther independent pieces. And then milestone 40 gives you... I don't know what you'd call it, a nice little boost, but it's a little bit unreachable for some. So what me and Scottie did is we broke down an easy mode for it, and I'll let you talk through this. The only thing I'll throw in there is that this is with sleeper agents completed 100% and dead drop earned 22,000. So the one before we saw 18,000, spending a little bit extra to get extra orbs. What was the orb number we used for that 7 days over the campaign?
I think it was like we were averaging probably 3 orbs a day, maybe getting 21, 22 at the end.
That makes sense.
Obviously, we're assuming that this is similar to previous campaign events and like what we're gonna get. Like we still don't obviously know until it starts.
Yeah.
But that's what we're assuming is gonna happen, is similar to previous ones. So this one we were doing it based on the fact that some people, like, we may not be able to complete dead drop if it is what we suspect.
Yeah.
And so cutting those milestones, unfortunately, it does cut them down quite a bit, because if you can finish dead drop, you're going to get 45,000. But if we get what we think, which is the 21, 22 orbs, then we're probably going to only get about 22,000 points from that event, which does unfortunately bring it down quite a bit. Like, it still will get us, if you're still spending, a decent amount of campaign energy, like cores on the campaign energy refresh. The event campaign is also going on, so doing the 50s times 4 on that still is going to get us to about 80,000. So that will at least get you to the vibranium and some extra kind of bonus stuff along the way.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, I believe that got us all the way up to... Is this the one that had the Black Panther, 5 red star Black Panther? I could be mistaken.
So...
Let me check that.
Yes, it gets you to the 5 red Black Panther and some Armory 16 orbs as well.
Perfect. So that's what we did it on. So, and I just remembered, I think this was 26 orbs. Because you do get, once you do the heroic mode, if it is like other campaigns, we're making that assumption, you get a boost for the first time clearing the nodes, and then you get 3 orbs a day doing the 200 core refreshes, as well as the 80 cores times 3 on the energy refreshes. For me, that's at 11, 5, 6, and 9, and then just the time that occurs over it. So, and that equaled out to around 26 orbs, which netted you the 22,000 spy milestone points. And then this, I think, is very reasonable. 400 cores a day, over those 7 days, spending it on campaign energy, which I do suggest everybody does, and also spending it on the event campaign, which is the Nakia shards, which is good, right? And you can almost double down. When you're spending on the event campaign, that'll feed into the dead drop milestone that we were talking about before. So in doing so, you can actually jump the gun and maybe don't spend an extra 50 or 200 cores on campaign energy. Maybe drop that for the week and put an extra 200 cores into the Nakia campaign. That would be an extra 200 energy on that campaign, which would feed you more orbs, which would help you get more milestone points in here, and it would all kind of feed together. I guess the point is, it's pretty easily achievable to make sure you're getting all the Black Panther 1 million monthly parts. You think that's fair? Fair statement?
Yeah.
Okay. And now, for our blubbery friends in the higher alliances, Scottie also broke this down for us on how you would get 100% on the spy games. And why don't you talk us through this? You can walk us through your day, because this is what you based it on.
I mean, it's kind of what I do most days, because I am trying to refresh the gold store to get teal gear as much as I can, because it's still not readily available. Mm-hmm. This was assuming also that you complete the dead drop event, which obviously we don't know if that's going to be very doable. But if you can do that, and you're spending, about 900 cores a day, which obviously is a lot, but some people spend even more than that. I mean, it is completable. Say you're not finishing the dead drop and you're still missing 15,000 cores. I mean, that is still something you could potentially make up for in cores to complete it. So it's not one of those ones where I think it's so far into the whale stones that no one will be able to complete it except for people that really spend a lot of money. But it is potentially doable if you're already spending quite a bit of cores a day on things, and you can bump up your daily cores if you're not finishing the dead drop as well.
Yeah, it feels like it's the kind of event where it would cost you maybe $40 to get to the end, as opposed to $200 to get to the end. Which is what we're going to see here in a little bit, which, I mean, is just kind of the world we've evolved into as Marvel Strike Force players. So yeah, then the Nakia Tri Event, not terrible. I'll leave it at that. It's not terrible, predicated on her event not being drastically different than previous events like the Spiderweaver event. Obviously, there's that difference where we need to use War Dogs to do it, but I think the big panic right now is that her campaign event is going to be more like Zombie Iron Man and not like the campaign events we know of old. Which, I mean, we're just kind of waiting and seeing what happens there, I suppose. Okay, and that brings us into our next Tri event, which is going to be started off with Powerful Paws, which is kind of a new one that we've not seen before, and personally not one I care for. It seems, in my opinion, to be the yuckiest one, and that's because it's earning power cores. And the reason I really don't like that is because of how Arena currently is. There's lots of Arena collusion. It's not as competitively, and it doesn't have competitive integrity, I guess is my point. But there's a minimum you can hit, and you'll still get all the monthly milestone stuff, which is what I'm most interested in. So that's why we mapped it out at Milestone 9. And Milestone 15 is the last one. Milestone 9 is 2,480 cores earned during that time. That's going to get you 325 Nakia rings, which we're going to see feeds into the Battle Scars milestone. And it gets you 6,000 of the Meteorite. So in the other ones, I've actually calculated out, you don't get extra Meteorite for going to 15. Sorry, that's an error. You get all the Meteorite for hitting Milestone 9, which I think was the most important part. You were talking to me about some things you can do to earn power cores a little bit differently. About the, what was it, Save the World milestone or something? What were you were talking about that?
Yeah, I mean, the Save the World milestone, which is our 48-hour milestone for spending campaign energy, which obviously people are probably going to be doing for the other parts of the event going on.
Yeah.
It's not too hard to get through all those cores, and if one ends before this event starts, you can save those because it does last for 24 hours as well. And that gets you 75 cores, from that. And sure, 75 cores isn't a lot, but times three, that is 225 at least that can help contribute to this. Mojo's Mayhem is also going to start during the event, so free to play players are going to get like the 50 cores from that. People that buy the premium are going to get 500 from that. And you should also be obviously saving, the 6 or 7 days of your arena rewards in your inbox, because pretty much you now need to save everything that comes to your inbox, because that is the new game mode for Marvel Strike Force is hoarding in your inbox. But that will help too, but a lot of that depends obviously where you finish in arena. So people that finish in the top 10 are going to have an easier time getting through this versus people that are outside of like the top 100.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And yeah, we don't have a graph for this one just because it's so heavily predicated on your arena. What Scottie was just talking about is a good way to nickel and dime it for a little bit extra here and there, but it is going to come down to your arena, which is why personally I get yucky feelings from this event. But moving on to one that's actually very easy, and we had a couple of chuckles at it, being how we have been conditioned to play war. So for War of Wakanda, it is a 7-day event. So that basically means you get 3 wars, right? So you're going to battle in war, you're going to use war dogs, you get extra points for having them at these thresholds: gear tier 13, gear tier 15, and gear tier 16. Again, I'm going to say milestone 9 just because that's all of what the vibranium is. And this is where we had our little laugh, because in our minds, this one is so sillily achievable that if we were to aim at this one, our Alliance Leader Baron would excommunicate us and we would never be allowed back. And this one's very easy, guys. You have 3 wars. If you do 8 attacks over those 3 wars, which is completely free using 0 Blitz refreshes, 0 war energy credits, you're going to get this done. You'll get your 1,200 points doing those 24 attacks, which brings you over the milestone 9. But for milestone 15, it's a little bit different. Let me get you to talk on that while I blow my nose.
So like if you do 10 war attacks every war, you're using war dogs, you have them at least gear tier 15, which I guess a lot of people will. That's all you really need to do for 3 wars. You just have to, that'll get you very close to finishing it, and then you just have to get 2 extra attacks in there on top of that. So say like 11 attacks in 2 wars and then 10 attacks in the last one. Obviously people that have them at gear tier 16 are going to get even more points, so they're probably not going to have to do those extra war attacks. But I think a lot of people who do war are going to be able to complete like all the milestones very easily, just by doing that.
Yeah, I think normally with this type of event, I think for the A-Force one, we were done by the end of our 2nd war by being a hardcore war alliance that had our A-Force built all the way up to gear tier 15. I think by the 2nd war, we were just like, okay, like we're done. So for some people, it's going to be very easy. For others, it might be a little bit more difficult, but gear tier 15 seems more in the realm of reasonable now, as far as, bringing these characters up, specifically because they're part of Death Scourge, even though they don't have Minion trait, which is unfortunate, but that's for another video. Yeah, it's not so bad. It's not so bad. And these 2 events, the Roar of Wakanda and the Powerful Paws, are going to feed into the main Black Panther 1 million, I would call it, which is the Battle Scars. Now this one, spending 1 event energy is going to give you 2 points. Collecting Nakia rings is going to give you 15 points, and you get those Nakia rings from the previous 2 events that we talked about. And we have some math based on doing the minimums, so doing milestone 9 for both Powerful Paws and for the Roar of Wakanda, and then we're going to have the, not the 100% completion, but what you can expect being a very engaged player. So milestone 26, 23,000 points, that's going to get you the heart. That is the big Black Panther 1 million monthly piece. That's all the meteorites along the way. They throw you a couple Armory 17 orbs, which is cool. And then if you jump all the way down to milestone 35, you're getting a lot of Armory 17 fragments. You're getting an Elite 6 orb to open, and you're getting 450,000 T2 level 4 ions, which is what people will be spending on to complete this milestone. So what we had broken it down to was just doing the monthly events. Now this one was pretty easy, and this was the math, right? This was for Milestones 9 on each event.
Yeah, so this was not completing both of the smaller milestones, even though like I think most people will be able to do the war one.
Yeah.
But say you can't, so both of them you're only getting to the most important parts in those small milestones, which is the stuff that contributes to the monthly event, and not spending a whole lot of energy. It's like 868 a day by just doing like your free to play energy, your free refreshes, and just 250 core refreshes, and your web store energy. You easily can get just over 23,000, which is what gets you to the heart. So I think it is pretty free to play friendly for a lot of people, just to get the most important stuff.
Yeah, just to get that monthly stuff. And we should say, for the Power Core one, which is a little yucky if you are struggling in Arena, you could offset some of that difference if you can't reach Milestone 9 just by doing better than Milestone 9 in the War of Wakanda, the war using War Dogs one. You can definitely offset with that. So, like Scottie said, I think this is okay as far as being able to complete the monthly milestone, or the monthly. This monthly event stuff always messes me up with vocabulary. It's okay as far as you'll get the heart easily enough. Now, I was very early on when I said I hate milestones that aren't completable free to play. This one is not completable free to play. Like, me and Scottie were very honest about that. Getting to this milestone 35, not very possible. People who are highly engaged will fall somewhere in between 26 and 35. I think we were looking at more around 44,000 points is what we thought we were probably going to get at, which just gave us a bunch of little extra teal gear. How much do you think, because this is all offer stuff, just based on your experience seeing offers, how much do you think it's going to cost offer-wise to hit this milestone 35?
I bet it's going to be another, well, I guess in Canadian,
Yeah.
it's usually that like 140 offer to finish it, probably, which is just kind of gross for weekly events. Like, it's 140 every week almost to finish.
Yeah.
That's what I'm guessing it'll be. So that's like $100, I think, for our American friends.
Yep.
That would be my guess, is like to get that extra, almost like, what would it be, like 20,000 extra points that you would need to finish it by going really hard on it as far as like energy and finishing the other events.
Yeah.
I'm guessing it's going to be something like that for like 20,000 milestone points for $140.
Yeah, so for you sweaty dorks out there who do all your min-maxing, you can also expect to have to spend $100 American if you want to max this out. But for those who, like me and Scottie, are just going to kind of do what we do and get what we get, we do have some tips for you, the best way to prepare. Why don't you take it away, Scottie?
So obviously, don't collect your arena payouts a week before this starts. Like, they're gonna stay in your inbox for 7 days. So just watch the counters to make sure nothing's gonna expire on you. What's this one say? Do not collect
Pass course.
Oh, pass course. So like in the milestone, so the Save the World milestone, save that there. Probably reduce like how much cores you're gonna spend before this starts, just so that you're kind of almost hoarding cores. And ideally, if you are planning to invest in War Dogs, because once again we do know that they're going to be a Scourge team, and they are very useful in War and Crucible, like this is the time to build them up now, because it is going to help you if you plan to build them up.
Yeah, and I gotta say, I have some experience playing with the War Dogs now. They are a very fun team to play on, and anytime I have like a Master Sword team that like just strikes down anything that put in front of it, those are the kind of teams that I enjoy investing in. So even if you don't like War, it's War and Crucible. They can, like, they're not the best in Crucible without Killmonger, but they do function. So I think there's value in this team. Whereas like if it was A-Force before the A-Force rework, I wouldn't have found as much value to invest in this team. But now we get to move on to some of the more easy stuff, the Coordinated Assault. Now, we were once in an alliance that struggled with this, and it was an endgame alliance, and it was silly. Because once we broke down the math, it was like, how on earth are we struggling with this? So for the Coordinated Assault, it lasts 7 days. It is an alliance-wide event. Spending 1 ISO 8 energy gives you 1 point. The final milestone, and there is no acceptable reason to not complete this event unless your alliance is unengaged, which I understand is a thing that happens to people. But if you want these T4 level blue T4, those are not the right letters, T2 level 4 ions, you want to get all the way to milestone 20, and that is 141,000 points. So we broke this down, or rather you broke this down because you do everything for me. And this is what you need to do. So what does this cost?
I mean, you're getting a lot of refills a day, just like free refreshes. Obviously, when Coordinated Assault is not going on, you should not be spending your ISO energy refills unless you're capping. We do get, 240 from, what is it, Mojo's Mayhem, when that starts typically, for the free-to-play people, and then you actually get another 240 for people to buy the premium.
Yeah.
So it's not even about spending cores, because I don't think I've ever spent cores refreshing my ISO to get, the 840 daily. But you just have to make sure that you're managing your ISO energy refills in between the Coordinated Assault so that you're ready for when it starts.
Yeah, like, I guess a problem we had, and we were in a Super Blubbery Alliance, the problem we had is nobody needed ISO green, so they were literally just letting their ISO energy stay capped, and they were just never spending it, and they were going way over. And then when we started being like, hey, you guys need to actually do this, we had people overspending it, and then we overkilled it. So hitting that 840 daily is kind of better than trying to aim for like 1200, because then all of a sudden you get to like the second or even the last day, and all of a sudden you're way over it, and you all kind of feel silly for having used cores. So I think this 840 daily that you have here is actually a very good benchmark.
And before the last one, they actually had like a free claim on the web store for like 5 days prior that you could actually hoard those in your inbox. So maybe they'll do that again. So anytime that they're giving us stuff in your inbox that is ISO energy, obviously save that until it's about to expire, just in case you're going to need it for something like this too.
Yeah, it's almost like the new rule is if it's in your inbox and it has more than 24 hours before it's gone, leave it there, which is tough. It's really tough with that red dot. There's red dots all over my home screen, and it's very annoying, but it's kind of for the best.
It is the new game mode.
Yeah. So here's how best prepare for Coordinated Assaults. You gotta be in an active alliance. Hoard your ISO 8 campaign credits. Collect your ISO 8 energy from the battle pass. Communicate with your alliance that everyone needs to contribute to this. By the end of the event, if everyone's at 5,875, you got 100%. You did everything. It's not a hard one. It's all about being active. And then we kind of have a scary one, isn't it? Doesn't this one seem a little scary? And not because these turkeys look like they're about to, hunt us down and then flavor us up and eat us. Just because of how good the rewards are and how they haven't given us any numbers on it.
Yeah, I mean, they say we're going to get something from a free offer daily. So, like, we assume that will be at least a point. And that there will be a calendar that we have not seen yet. So I think realistically, it will probably only get to, I think we thought maybe milestone like 5 or 6, but who knows?
Yeah, so one thing I look at when I'm looking at these events and there's unknowns is I look for a big drop. So here, if we look at it, these are the rewards. We can talk about the rewards, but let's first look at the drop. So we start at you needing 2 points from milestone 1, then 3, 6, 7, 11, 15, 25. So from 15 to 25, that was a 10 point. And then 25 to 60 is a 35 point drop. And then it goes 35 again. And then the next one looks like it's actually just 30. That's a little weird that it decreased the drop. But you get my point. So it's like it increases by 2, it increases by 3, increases by 4, increases by 5, and then all of a sudden increases by 35. That's the, okay, free-to-play's done there. Free-to-play is not getting that extra 35. That's the way I look at it. And the reason I think we're not going to get, or the reason I'm fearful, rather, we're not going to get past, say, Milestone 7 at that 25 mark, is because of how good these rewards are. On this list, what characters do you need? Because there's a lot of good characters here.
I think I still need a little bit of Deathlock and Abomination. So like the 100 Abomination shards, I was like, oh, that's perfect. He'll be 7 yellow. But like, I feel like that's gonna cost a lot of money.
Yeah, and it lines up. Everybody knows everybody who was here a year ago remembers Thanos Giving. And this seems too good of rewards to not cost a lot of money. And the way the milestones requirements, the way the points jump, we have that 25 to 60 jump, and then you have a 200 to 245 jump, and then 4 milestones after that, instead of being at like 300, no, it's at 405. So there's some big jumps. And at the very bottom there, that T2 level 5 ions, that is something that people really cracking out for that, because that's what's going to be not unlocking the baby apocalypse, but unlocking the big boy apocalypse. So I'm personally preparing for the salt and the crying. What's your gut feeling on this one, Scottie?
I think we'll get to probably exactly where we think. So either like 6, 7, and then it's going to be hundreds of dollars to go even one level up. And
for every dollar that it costs to go one level up, there will be one Reddit post. So be ready.
But they will be on vacation, so they don't care.
Yeah, that's true. They're gone at this point. This is Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. We'll see you in February. Goodbye. All right, well, that's it for the events. But what I wanted to do is get your quick thoughts, and I'll give my quick thoughts too, on just what we think of these events. So I'll start us off. And let's use the old school grading method, not the Canadian one which uses numbers, but let's use letters from F through A. Coordinated assault, I understand that it needs to be in a live alliance with 24 members, so I give it a B+. What do you give coordinated assault?
Oh, I'd give it an A.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's a solid event. It's still doable. Get lots of stuff I need from it. Like,
yeah, well, that's fair. I guess the reason why I gave it a little bit lower is because it's alliance dependent. I hate relying on other people.
I just yell at everybody.
Yeah, that's true. You do. That's true. You do. Holiday Rumble, for me, easy A+ event.
Yep.
Yeah. Sleeper Agents, that one actually seemed like one of the easier ones to do. That was the blitzing, and I think you're going to be collecting the web milestone. So just because we have to go to the web store, I give it an A-.
I give it an A++. I love Blitz. You know me.
You do love Blitz. Drop Dead, opening those campaign orbs. This one's weird because I just don't know what the Nakia event's going to be like. So again, just like we did all the math on, assuming it's going to be similar to past events, I'm going to give this one a B, because I do think you get about 20 orbs, which is about halfway, which does give you all the monthly events. I just hate seeing half the milestones untouched.
I just love that you have it in reverse order. That you have Drop Dead.
Well,
because it's dead drop.
Dead drop doesn't make much. Yeah, Drop Dead. This event, in particular, could drop dead.
I hate it because it's probably going to be so uncompletable. So I'd give it, I don't know, like a C.
A C, okay. For spy games, you had about 900 cores could get you the completion for that. 900 cores is about 500 cores over my budget daily. So I give that one a fat D-.
So I'd give it a C.
A C, okay. Because 900 cores is in your budget. I get it. Mr. does good at arena, huh?
A C's not good.
Yeah, that's true.
Because you can do it, but I think it's like excessive.
Yeah.
So C.
Speaking of excessive, Powerful Paws, this is the earning power cores, the first time they're trying to do that one. I'm really not a fan of this one, not just for my own experience, because I do think I'm going to get around 4,000 in a 7-day span. But I think for the majority of players, it sucks so bad. I want to give this one an F, just in case somebody's watching. They're like, okay, don't do that one again. He gave it an F. That's a fail.
I'm gonna give it an F too, but I think they're gonna see that we gave it an F, and they're like, "We're gonna do this again."
Yeah, it's probably true. Roar Wakanda, as a avid war lover, I gotta give this an A+. Because like I said, we're gonna be done this by war number 2. I think it's a good excuse for people to put a little bit more love into the Wakanda team. They're gonna actually get to play them in war. They're gonna find it to be fun, and then they're gonna have a better team for that Death Scourge. So I actually like that event. I think it leads people down a good path.
Yeah, I'd give it an A+ too, and also I like that it's a war offense team that they're using it, and not making us pull Gamma off D or Darkhold off D, like something that we don't want to pull, because that just gets kind of annoying.
That's true. That's very true. The next one should be like Underworld or something.
And it's like 10 war attacks versus like some of these events where we're trying to do like 14 and then having to like melt teams at the end, and then you're always worried that someone's going to clear you or someone's going to take out a team that they're not supposed to take out.
I know you're talking about Sea King and not talking about me. Okay, so yeah, that's a good event. And then we have Battle Scars that's kind of fed into that through the Nakia rings. I like that through Battle Scars, it's very easy to get those monthly events. And then I think everything after the monthly events, minus that last milestone for me, doesn't hold enough value to tempt me to do it. And because the price tag on reaching that last milestone is so extravagant, I feel no pressure to push for it. So for me, I'm like, okay, the monthly stuff I get easily enough. The rest of it, I'm going to pretend doesn't exist. I'll give it a B-.
I like B. Yeah, B.
Okay.
Like, get a lot of stuff. I just wish it was more completable, I guess, if you push. Like, you have to push so hard to complete it, and that's what I don't like.
Yeah. And then we got the Thanksgiving event, which we know nothing about, except that the rewards are too good for them to give it out for free. I'm going to preemptively give this an F-, so that when people come and review this video after we find out you can only get through milestones 1, 2, and 3, they'll know I'm on their side. I do not like that kind of event.
No, I agree. Terrible. It's gonna be bad. It's so many flashbacks to Thanos giving, where like we all saw it beforehand, and I was like, oh my god, that looks great. But at least maybe with this one, I don't have to open like 10,000 orbs.
Yeah, that's true.
For nothing.
Yeah, that's true. For what was it? I think
getting carpal tunnel from opening the wall.
Yeah, like the best thing you got was like 75 basic orb fragments. At least they're not giving us that. They're just giving us nothing.
Yeah.
Happy Thanksgiving. Well, we're Canadian. I guess we should expect it from Thanksgiving. All right, anyway, guys, that's what we got for you today. Thank you so much for coming and hanging out with Scottie and helping me figure out all the maths on this. I know you don't do any content creation, but is there anything you want to say? Do you want to talk to somebody from our alliance?
You thinking?
Yeah, you ruined our work. You
ruined our whole week.